this is going to be a tutorial for this book right here. I had made this a couple weeks ago and had some interest in making it, even though I made a boo-boo on it. So I redid the tutorial without this flap. So you can go back and look at the walkthrough if you want to. I made this one, and this is also Minte paper. I actually got it from Country Craft Creations, but it was like a year ago, so I'm sure she doesn't have it anymore. But it was called Joy of Life. So I will show you how to make this book. The tutorial will follow. I will show you this end project, but I do want to bring your attention when I open it and show you the inside. There's one part of the video that I, of course, made a mistake because I can't seem to make a book lately without making one. But I will tell you right now as I go through the book what to watch for when you're watching the video so you don't make the same mistake. So I kind of like the balloon coming off the top of the album. These are chipboard pieces, and I cut out paper to put on top, glued some little bows on there, and then put little flat backs on the corner pieces. Then I did just a little flower arrangement down here with some sprays and some leaves and a little butterfly. There's a sparkly flat back here, and there's a little pearl sticking out there. Here's the spine and the back. Okay, so I did use some gold paper as matte paper. This was the Sizzix brand from Country Craft Creations. The book measures 6 inches by 9 inches with a 1 1/4 inch spine. I put ribbon underneath the paper for a closure. You don't have to have a closure probably if you don't want to. But I used the Minte paper because I used Minte on the first one, so it had the same types of cut aparts and stuff. So this paper is really me because it's pinks and greens and I love it. You'll have 2 waterfalls. The waterfall has the magnets, but you put the magnet so that it is under the first page or flip so that you can see that pretty picture. But I only put paper behind this one. The rest I left empty so that you could put pictures on there. The cut aparts are super pretty. Okay, and I put the gold paper in between, and then down here in case you want to see the cut aparts. Okay, so same exact thing I did, the same exact thing I did with the other one. So this is a dimensional pocket. I have some lace trim down here. Didn't really have room to put any decoration because the paper was pretty busy. I did just glue the word joy, which is from the ephemera packet, and this little birdhouse. Made my closure here by doubling up paper and putting 2 brads and this twine stuff. But it is a dimensional pocket. It's a 1/2 inch thick. Okay, so then that will open. This is a belly band that you can tuck something under. I guess I should have put something in there. I have something like this. It's getting stuck on that fence post. And then this would act as a stopper if you're interested in that. Okay, this is like a little card. It flips up, and then this flips out. Just did a little border up here, and I have a new punch that I got that's a bow. Anything that I glued down that was ephemera I left open so you could tuck a picture. Same way with the fence, it's open here. Okay, this then opens up at the top. Okay, and there's that bike paper, so cute. And then this is you can have this goes all the way down, and then there's this one. And I did put this little corner that you could tuck something in also. That's a die cut from Heartfelt Creations. So the tutorial is following. This is the part where I made a mistake, so I will tell you that right now. In the tutorial, I start to glue down these pockets first, and then I was going to add this. No. Do not glue this down first. You need to attach this pocket or this page first, then you put the pockets on top. So watch for that as you are watching the tutorial. All right, stay tuned if you're interested in making it. And again, countrycraftcreations.com is where I got the first paper collect. Well, I got both there, but this is the one that's still there, or at least it was the last time I checked. At the time of this recording, it's called Golden Days by Minte. All right, here comes the tutorial. Hello, this is a tutorial for the book that I did a walkthrough for earlier. You can see that on my YouTube channel. I will try and remember to put a link in the description box, but this is using the Golden Days paper by Minte that I got from Country Craft Creations. This is the book that I really like the looks of it. I like the inside. However, it's the one that I screwed up on and had to make some changes because I originally had a spine here. So that's why this comes off. So you can look at the original tutorial. But I'm trying to get this out quickly because I've had a lot of people say they have the paper and they're ready to go. So I took a little bit of a shortcut and I did the cover off camera. So if you know how to do the lay flat method, that's what I did. And I can direct you to a tutorial of mine or someone else's or Tammy's, because she's the one who came up with the idea, to watch the tutorial on another video so that you can get the cover done. I'll give you the measurements and all that kind of fun stuff, but I wanted to save some time. So this is the book that we're making, just in case you did not see the tutorial or the walkthrough. So let me get started. I am going to use a different paper collection. I don't think I have enough of the Golden Days, so I'm using the Minte collection called Joy of Life, which I also got from Country Craft Creations, but this was about a year ago, so I'm sure she doesn't have any more. But I thought this would be good to use because it's got the same type of cutouts or the cut aparts as the book that I made, and these are beautiful. And so I thought I needed to use another Minte paper. So this is Joy of Life. I did choose to use the green cardstock, the Artisan. I think it goes really well. It's going to look really nice with the paper. I think it'll accent the greens in here. And there's a lot of pink. I just love it. So yeah, that'll go good. So this book, for your chipboard pieces, I did use the regular weight of chipboard. The covers, you need 2, and they are 6 inches wide and 9 inches tall. So cut 2 pieces that are that measurement. And the spine is 1 1/4 by 9. Okay. Now using the lay flat method, on the front and back cover, you're going to cut your cardstock 2 inches larger. So this was 6 by 9, so you need 8 by 11, 2 pieces to wrap the front and the back. 8 by 11. The cardstock for the spine, we're going to go an inch higher and lower, but we do 1.5 inch wings instead of 1 inch. So I need for you to cut 4 1/4 by 11 for the spine. Now when you wrap the front and back cover, you do wrap all 4 sides. And when you're doing the spine piece, you just wrap the top and the bottom and you leave the wings open. Again, I will try and remember to link a tutorial either from Tammy or one of my previous videos. So once you put your book together, you do need a piece of cardstock to lay in the center to give your book stability and to cover up that raw spine. And so I did, well, I lied. I'm going to tell you what the measurement should be, and then I just used a piece of scrap paper I didn't want to cut. So I used 4 by 8 7/8, but you really should use 4.5 by 8 7/8. That 1/2 inch didn't bother me none, so mine's off just a little bit. But I would do 4.5 by 8 7/8, so 1/8 inch smaller or shorter than the height of the book. So we are going to build 2 waterfalls here, and so I will start with that, and I will give you the measurements for that. I'm not going to decorate on camera unless it's something that has to be done before I can put another piece on. So you might want to have a notebook handy to jot down these measurements. So you are going to start with some waterfalls, and so you're going to need 10 pieces that are 3 3/4 by 4 1/4. So I'll write that down on paper. It's going to be faster than me typing it up because it just takes way too long. So there's 10 that are 3 3/4 by 4 1/4. And you're going to need closures, so that's to keep the flaps from opening on their own. You're going to need 2 of those, and I did 1 by 4 3/4. So this is the first measurements that I'm going to give you that you need to cut out. All right, now I am going to matte my book in a different color because I think it really made the first one stand out. So I'm going to matte the inside front cover I'm trying to decide if I want gold. I want gold. I was going to say silver, but I'll go gold. I have some paper that I got from Country Craft Creations. It's by Sizzix, and it's a glitter paper, and it's so pretty. So I'm going to mat gold first. So I'm going to go 1/8 of an inch shorter than the book. So I'm going to go 5 7/8 by 8 7/8 and put a gold piece of paper. Then I'm going to start my actual waterfall. So go ahead and get these cut. Now when I write my measurements for myself on sticky notes, to help me remember with scoring, I place a line underneath the number that's going to be across the top of my scoreboard, and then underneath I write what the score is. So I have a line next to 3 3/4, and I'm going to write 1/2. So that means I'm placing my paper with the 3 3/4 inches across the top, and I score at 1/2. Okay? There's nothing you're going to score on the 4 1/4 side. The two pieces that are 1 by 4 3/4, you're going to lay the 4 3/4 inches across the top and score at 1/2 on each end. So I would write 1/2 EA. So that tells me 1/2 on each end. So that just saves me a little bit of time instead of writing the word score and all that kind of fun stuff. So go ahead and prep your paper, and I will show you how to lay down those waterfalls. Okay, with your, oh, the lighting is weird all of a sudden. Oh, that's why. Okay, so take your 3 3/4 across the top, and you're going to score at 1/2. If it's easier for you, you can also score at 3 1/4, and you do that for all 10 pieces of the waterfall. Oops, I might need to do this one. So I'm going to go ahead and just do 3 1/4. It's just easier for me on this end. And then I think I said earlier on the 4 3/4 inch pieces, I think I said do 1/2 at each end. No, you just do 1/2 on one end. So if you put the 4 3/4 inches across the top, you can either score at 1/2, or if it's easier for you, you can score at 4 1/4. Okay. So let me do the other one. You can either do it at 1/2, 4 1/4, excuse me, or you can do it at 1/2. It's whatever's easiest for you. All right, so all you have to do now is burnish. So on each of your pieces, whether it be the waterfall closure or the actual waterfall flips, just burnish on your score lines so that you fold into the bump. Okay, and then, so I scored, for those of you who are new, when I scored this on the top, now I would fold into that bump, okay, and give it a really good burnish. So do that to all 10 of your pages and both of your closure pieces. My gold paper, I do notice that when you burnish it, you see scratch marks on it, just a little FYI. So this was 5 7/8. So the pattern paper that I'm going to put on top was 5 3/4 by 8 3/4. But before I can glue this on, I have to put the closures for the waterfalls. So, and then we need 2 sets of magnets. I'm using the basic gray magnets from Country Craft Creations. So let me just check my book here to see how far down I went and how far up. So I had one waterfall open to the right and one open to the left. So the first one I went down about 1.5 inches. So I'm going to turn my book and I'm going to lay my ruler down just so I can have a guide here. And I'm going to place my first closure at 1 3/4, and I'm going to place it at the end of the gold paper. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just take one of my flaps. I'm going to put glue on it, on the closure, I guess I should say. And I'm going to line it up at about 1 3/4 on the gold paper. Make sure it's straight. I'm assuming I'm going to measure up 1 3/4 on the other side. Let me just double check. Where did I just put my ruler? Right here. Yep. So now I'm going to place my ruler at 1 3/4 on the opposite end. Put glue on the 1/2 inch section. And I should probably put it this way. And make sure it's straight. Okay, get rid of any excess glue. This paper's slippery, so it takes a second for it to dry. Now we will end up putting magnets on, but let's go ahead and place our waterfalls. So this one, I'm going to start over here. Okay. And I'll leave this open, and I'm going to go ahead and go all the way to the edge, and I am going to line it up at the top of the, did I do that at the top? No, I did not. I did move it up a little bit, so let me see. So let's eyeball this here. You do need a little bit of space in between, but you do want to see the gold. So I'm going to go down about 1/8 of an inch and up about 1/8 of an inch on each end. So see that I have a border. So about 1/8 of an inch, and move this one up about 1/8 of an inch. Okay. So what you're going to do, you do not miter waterfalls. So you're going to go ahead and put your glue on the 1/2 inch strip. And you're going to lay it up against the gold. Actually, I'm going to move it in a little bit so I can see the gold. Let me get... I'm going to do that. I want to see a little bit of that border. Oh my gosh. Stop. Don't put that on yet. Put your pattern paper on first. Ta-da! That one. Sorry. I did ink with vintage Folio. It's weird how you can make a book and then 2 weeks later you're like, okay, now how did I do that again? I like this side of the paper too. It's so pretty. Alright, get enough glue on there. I thought I caught that. There we go. And now this paper will act as a guide, so it's going to be a little bit easier. Man, this paper's slippery. All right. I used the copper penny on the last one, that shiny paper from Country Craft Creations, instead of this stuff. Okay, now I can put this down, and I'm going to bring it up. Now this time I put it at the bottom here, like so. So I lined it up with the bottom of that green paper I just laid down. So I'm going to use that paper as a guide. So line it up on the side of the green paper I laid down and the bottom. And once you're happy, give it a good burnish. Okay, we're going to do 5 of those. So now I'm going to place the next one right up against this one, and I'm going to again use the paper as a guide. I want to make sure that it lines up down here on the bottom so the same amount of gold is showing. Bump it up, line it up at the bottom. There we go. Open it up and burnish some more. Here's number 3. Bump it up against that 1/2 inch and line it up with the bottom piece so it's straight on the bottom. And we'll go back and put pattern paper on these 1/2 inch strips to cover that green. So that's 3. Here's number 4. And now number 5, and then we'll do the same thing on the top, but we'll just reverse the direction. I'll probably do the top off camera, but I'll show you how to do the magnets on the closure. Okay, so we'll go back and put 3/8 inch strips of paper. I'll probably put the gold in between. So I want my front page that you can see the whole pattern paper. So I want this closure to go under that front page, which means you're going to need a magnet on the top of this and on the bottom of this. So I will end up covering this with like a white piece of matte paper that you can use for journaling, but I did not cover the back of the rest of them. Okay, so let me get my magnets. I need my pokey tool. There it is. So I'm going to take off the backing on one of them. They're connected together, the 2 magnets, and I'm going to place it about right there. You don't want it too close to the end that the paper won't go around it. Push it down. Now take the backing off of the other piece. Okay, and we're going to push down so that that sticks. And I am going to use a little thin piece of 1/8 inch score tape to keep it down. Okay, and then you're going to, like I said, put your pattern paper on. So now you're going to start the top section, start on the right hand side and go this direction. Okay, and then you'll do your magnet and your matting. Now with my cutouts, I don't know what the wrong, it was the Mente paper was not, these cutouts were not even, so mine are off just a hair on each one of them is a little bit taller or shorter, but I'm going to go ahead then and place my cut aparts, and I think I'm going to actually do, I did on the other one, 6. So 1, 2, 3, look how pretty those are, 3, 4, 5, and then the 6th one is going to go on the actual book. Okay, like so. All right, so do the bottom and the top same exact way. All right, let me just show you real quick what I did. I put in the spine piece, which I measured, and I did 1 1/4, even though that's what the spine was, and usually you go a 1/8 inch smaller, but when it's the spine and you wrap it, you have a little bit of leeway. So I made this 1 1/4 by 8 7/8, and the paper that I put behind the first page to cover the magnet was 3 by 4. And then the rest, I did not put paper behind because I would figure that I'd put pictures. I put 3/8 by 4 inch strips of gold. And then here's the top one. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to work on is this page right here. The next set of measurements for the layered pocket on the back cover, you'll need one piece that's 3 by 6 7/8 and one piece that is 6 by 6 7/8. We're going to go ahead and take the 3-inch one and place the long side up across the top, so the 6 7/8 across the top, and you want to score it 1/2 on each end of that piece. So I'm just going to flip it around and do the other side at 1/2. Okay, get that out of there. The next one, we're going to place the 6 inches across the top, and we're going to score it 1/2. Okay, and then turn it one time now so that the 6 7/8 is at the top, and we're going to do 1/2 on each end. And I did use the punch board for this part. So let's go ahead and prepare this pocket. So go ahead and slightly miter at the top. You're going to take out the square at the bottom at an angle. Okay. So let's go ahead and burnish that, and then we're going to do the punch board. So I'm going to keep these 2 1/2-inch pieces folded under to help me with the measurements. You can do the measurement that you like, but on this particular, this is that all-in-one thingamabob. So I'm going to use the punch that's on here, and I'm just going to line up with the 1/2 inch underneath. I'm going to line it up at this number 14 that I have right here. Actually, I could line it up here. Do I like it at that one? Hold on. Let me see what it looks like. No, I like it at 14. Okay, so I'm going to line it up at the 14 mark and just punch, then turn it over or upside down, and again with the 1/2 inch tucked in, go ahead and punch it at 14. Okay, now while we have that out, we're going to go ahead and do the 3-inch one too. So I'm going to go ahead and burnish that one. Okay, and with the 1/2 inches underneath, I'm going to go to the 14, flip it over, and the 14. Okay, so now we're done with that for now. You'll need it again for your pattern paper. Okay, let me straighten up my desk here. All right, so what you're going to need is your cutting mat, a blade, and a ruler. And we're going to cut out this section in between the 2 punches. So I'm going to line up my ruler at the bottom of that punch mark. Let me straighten out my... looks about right there. And just bring your blade across there. So I'm going to just trim this up just a hair. I don't like the way that looks. Okay. And then this one has just a little bit of a curve. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Line it up. Get your ruler. And I have just a little piece to trim there. Well, that didn't do very good. All right. Okay. Now you can choose to put your pattern paper on before we end up putting this on the book. I'm gonna wait, but whenever you're matting this, so this now measures 5 7/8 by 5 1/2. Okay. So now when you cut out your pattern paper, it's going to be 5 3/4 inches across. So when you're doing this part on your pattern paper, you want to move it in about 1/8 of an inch. So I would move it closer in. I lined it up with the 14 and there's no more marks, so I'd have to just eyeball it and move it in about 1/8 of an inch on each side. So that's how you'll cut the mat. So we want this one to slide down into this pocket. So to do that, I want it to be 1 inch taller. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mark, and I still have my 1/2 inch folded behind. I'm going to put a mark at the 1 inch. One inch from the top. Okay, or do I want it 1 1/2? What did I do this one? Looks like 1. Okay, I'm gonna do 1 1/4. I can't decide. So 1 1/4. Flip it over. I want to put a mark at 1 1/4. So now what you're going to do is we're going to cut straight over on the 1/2 inch till we get to that mark we made. So I'm going to go straight across, and then I'm going to taper it down like so. Do that to the other side also. Cut straight across to our mark and then taper down. And I should have done pencil instead of pen, but too late now. So what we're going to do then is just slide this in, and then it should stop at exactly the right spot. Okay. Ooh, I don't like that I can see those marks. This actually feels a little bubbly. All right, there we go. Okay, so let's get our book. Let's do this one first. So we want to bring it down at the bottom. I'm going to leave, you don't want to cross your mark here, your fold, but I do want to bring it down and make sure it's even. Okay, so now I can put my glue on the 1/2 inch sides. Tuck in my sides, bring the bottom up. All right, I'm happy with that. I'm going to burnish it. Get rid of any excess glue as always. And so now this piece, we're going to slide in. And mine is just a hair. I'm going to have to adjust. I'm not going to be able to stand that. Hold on. I'm going to rescore. I need to scoot it over just a little tiny bit. So I'm going to make a new score right here. And refold it and see if that does the trick. My measurements must be off just a smidge. Okay, let me try that and see if that slides in better. All right, I can live with that. So now I'm just going to put glue. I can put a little bit down here on the bottom. I don't need much, just enough to keep it down flat. And then here on the 1/2 inch pieces. And again, slide it until it stops and is even. And burnish. Okay, so now we have a flap that we need to do. I really hope I can cover up that little ink mark. That was really dumb not to use a pencil. So the next measurements, let's do 3 new pieces. So one is 5 7/8 by 9 1/2. We need a 5 by 8 and a 4 by 10. Let's work with those 3 pieces next. Let's take the 4 by 10 piece and we're going to score it right in half at 5. So put the 10 inches across the top and go right in half. Let's put the 5 by 8 in, put the 5 inches across the top, score at half. And the 5 7/8 by 9 1/2, put the 9 7/8 inches across the top and score at 1/2. So as always, we're going to burnish those score marks. And one more. Crud buckets. Hold on, I think I found an oops. Okay, I had to bring this up because I was supposed to put this side flap on first and I wasn't thinking. So whoopsie, I'll put a note on the video. So I had to lift this up, so it looks kind of ugly right here, but it's not going to matter. So what I want you to do is to find, you need to cut one piece that is 6 3/8 by 8 7/8, and you're going to put the 6 3/8 inches across the top of your scoreboard and score it half. So this was 6 3/8 by 8 7/8, and we are going to miter. Okay, actually I'm going to put this puppy off to the side, and we're going to glue what we need to on top of here before I attach it to the book. So just make sure this is open. Ooh. Okay, so let's work with this piece for a second. So this is going to be the flap that the dimensional pocket sits on. So let's get the rest of your pieces ready for the pocket. You'll need a 9 7/8 by 7 7/8, a 3.5 by 5 7/8, and then we already cut this one, and a belly band that's 1.5 by 6 7/8. Okay, so we've already scored the 6 3/8 and mitered it. So now I'm going to have you take your belly band piece, that's the small one, the 1.5 inch one, and we need to score at 1/2 inch on each end. And I'm just going to flip this over, do a 1/2 inch. All right, get your 3.5 by 5 7/8. Put your 3.5 inches across the top, and let's score at 3. And now the pocket. This is 9 7/8 by 7 7/8. We're going to do a 1/2 inch and a 1 inch score on 3 sides. So let's start with the 7 7/8 across the top. You're going to score at 1/2, and you're going to score at 1. Go ahead and rotate it once. Score the same thing, 1/2 and 1. And then rotate it one more time, and you got it, 1/2 and 1. All right, so let me get my board back here. All right, so this is going to be the flap on top of the envelope, this 3.5 piece. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to corner round mine. Okay, so we're done with that one. Belly band, go ahead and burnish that. And now the envelope part, let's go ahead and burnish all of our score marks first, all 6 of them. And you might want to be looking for a circle punch if you want to do a thumb hole, so that it's easier to get things in and out of the pocket. That's optional, you don't have to. So you can see that we'll have a 1/2 inch to glue onto the book, then we'll have a 1/2 inch thickness. Okay, so let's miter on the top. We're just going to miter on that first 1/2 inch, just on the outside one. Same way with the other side. Okay, now down at the bottom we need to cut some things out. So we are going to cut the bottom 2 squares out. Okay, like so. cut out the bottom 2. Then go ahead and slightly taper that bottom 1/2 inch. Cut out the 2 squares on the other side. And I'm going to lightly taper this when I take out those 2 squares. So that's what I have so far. Now you're going to take out the outside square in the next layer. I'm going to barely taper, like just want to get over that ridge. Okay, and take out the outside square on the other side. Cut up on the 1/2 inch so that it releases that square on both sides. So release the square. Now these are little tabs, but I just want to slightly taper so it folds up nice. So I'm taking just a sliver off on either side of that square. Just a little bit. Okay. Now at this point, you probably want to find your pattern paper and cover your envelope base, and then we'll cut out our circles for the closure and all that kind of stuff, and our thumb hole stuff. But I do want to do a dry fit before I go to all that work. So here's my flap that it's going to be sitting on. I just want to make sure that measurement wise, yes, mine's good. Okay, so let me go ahead and put pattern paper on, and I am going to put 3/8 inch pieces on the 1/2 inch on either side and the bottom. So let's go ahead and cover this. All right, I covered mine and I put the 3/8 inch strips. I am going to do just a small thumb hole. This is actually a 1 3/8 punch, and I'm just going to eyeball it. And I'm going to go ahead and ink that because I inked the edges of the other ones. Okay, so let's, before we start thinking about attaching it, that 3.5 inch piece, we need to do one more score mark. So I said 1/2, but you also need to do 1, the one that we corner rounded for the top. So I forgot my 1 inch. Okay. So now we're going to miter the outside 1/2. So we will glue on our page that's going to open, we're going to glue the top onto the very top of that. Okay, and we're going to glue this onto the bottom. But before we do that, it's probably going to be easier if I start looking at where I want to place the holes for the closure, because I'm going to do the tie. So I'm going to probably want one of them right about here where the circle is. So let me measure that down. So from the thumb hole, I'm going down about 3.5 inches. Yes, 3.5. So I'm just going to take, and I want to center it too. So I am going to get my Tim Holtz, and I'm going down 3.5 because that's where the circle is, and I want to center where I'm going to place that hole. So we're at about, it might be helpful if I turn it the right direction. So there's 2.5, about 2 5/8. Nope, needs to go this way. So now I'm at 2 7/8, 2 7/8. Okay, so I'm going to use a pencil, and I'm just going to put a little dot at the halfway mark. And let me just double check that's about 3 1/2 down. Yeah, it's 3 3/4, but that's okay. I can just do it up a little bit higher. And I'm going to take the pokey tool, and I'm just going to poke a hole so I can get my brad through there. So I want to find, I'm going to do a 1 inch to a 1/4 inch circle. I need 2 of them, one for here and the brad, and one for the top flap and the brad. So let me find which brads I'm going to use. You'll need 2, and go ahead and cut 2 circles of the paper you want. I think I might go with the gold. Maybe not. Let me see what I've got. I poked my hole. I cut out 2 layers. You can't see it very well, but there's a gold and then there's this pink, and then I put my brad through it. And on this piece, you're going to feed 2 things through the hole. You're going to need your closure, whatever you're using for twine or jute or whatever, and I'm going to stick that through the hole so that it goes onto the back. You need about 1 inch to 1 1/2 inches. And then I'm going to place this brad in that hole. I'm going to open it up. Maybe. I can't see. There we go. Okay, now I do want to cover this so that it lays, even though it's going to be inside, I don't want things to get stuck on that brad. So I'm just going to take a little bit of score tape. This is the 1 inch, and I'm just going to cover this up. Okay, I'm not even going to take the backing off. I'm just going to leave it that way. Okay, so there is the base. Now, before I put the top one on, I covered the top but not the bottom, because we need to cover that one up just like we did this one. So I'm going to wait. Well, you know what? I can make the holes now. So I want, now you can measure this. I'm going to try. Okay, that's where I want my hole. If you are, really picky about it, make sure you're measuring. Now this one doesn't get any string or jute or whatever, so I'm just going to punch that through. I hope these line up close enough. Yeah, they do actually. Okay, go ahead and open that one. Usually there's one that's longer than the other, but that's not the case for this one. Oh my gosh, I need my readers. Oh, for Pete's sake. I can't get them separated. Oh, for Pete's sake, hold on. Okay, that took me forever. Okay, so now I need to put a little bit of tape over the top of that one. Okay, and now we do want to cover the back with pattern paper. So this one I might take off the backing of that one. So I think I want this on the inside. Yeah, so what was the measurements? 5 3/4 by 2 3/8. Flap is done. Let's go ahead and start forming our box. So we're going to put glue on the tab, bring it up and over, and we're going to use a couple clothespins to hold on to it for us. Okay. So I'm just going to place glue right here. I'm going to bring it over onto that 1/2 inch. And I'm just going to hold it there for a second. And then I'm going to tuck the side in and the bottom goes on top of it. So I'm going to put a little glue here. Okay, and I'm going to get my clothespin. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Put glue on the tab. Bring it over. I'm going to pinch it for a second. Make sure the corners are lined up nice and square. Bring the side in and we're going to put some glue here. Put glue on the bottom flap and I'm going to bring that up and over, and we're trying to get it as square as we can. Remember, we already did a dry fit, so we know that if we do it right, it's going to fit on the flap. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry just for a second. So I'll go ahead and work on the back of this flap that we're going to be attaching it to. So there is a belly band. Let me show you. So when we open this, there's a belly band on the other side. Okay, now I put my pattern paper on after usually. You can do it before or after, doesn't matter, but I'm going to go ahead and put the belly band on first, and then I will put on my pattern paper. So with your right 1/2 inch on the right, flip it over, and you can decide where you want it on the page. You don't have to miter the corners because it's not going to be at the very bottom or the very top. If you want to center it, you can. Okay, I think I can handle that about halfway in the middle. Now you might want to put your pattern paper on this also before you attach the pocket, because when it's got that thickness, it's kind of hard to work on the other side. So that would be my helpful hint. And then when I decorate, I put a stopper down here of ephemera. All right, so I think I'll go ahead and put the pattern paper on here, and then I'll go ahead and attach both the flap and the pocket. And we're getting closer, I promise. We're getting almost done. All right, so the back is done. Now we're going to glue our pocket on the back. Okay. And you just want to make sure that you're pushing in the sides so it's the same width as your flap here. So sometimes it might be kind of good to kind of lift it up before you glue it all the way down, just to kind of look. This part just got to move fast, I guess, so that you can get it to fit right before it dries. And let's be generous on glue. Especially on the corners. All right, I think we're good. Maybe a little bit on the bottom. All right. So I'm going to take a look at the bottom here. Just standing it up, looking at it before I start pushing down too hard. All right, so now we have to put something inside, whether it's your hand or something, to get it to burnish. I'm going to do the tops first. Oh, see, I didn't get that burnished fast enough. I'm going to try my ruler. Sorry, I'm out of camera, or out of frame. All right, I'm going to do one more burnish here. Okay, let's hope that does the trick. Looks pretty good. So now we need to put the top on, the lid, and you're going to put glue over here, and we're going to tuck that in like so. Okay, so that it lines up. So just put glue on this outside 1/2 inch. Make sure it's lined up. I'm going to gently open it and burnish. Now you can put paper back here if you want. I don't mind seeing the green, so I'm going to leave it. All right, so there's that. I'm just going to go ahead and wrap this. I might end up putting a charm at the end. I don't know. I just want to get this string out of the way before I... Okay, so there's that. I'm happy with how that looks. So now we must go back to this, and we're going to glue this here so that it folds over like so. Okay, so I'm going to put glue just on the outside first. Had I done this before I laid down the pockets, hopefully you read the video where I wrote don't put the pockets down, so you won't have to work so hard at it. I'm going to turn my book sideways just so I can see that it's lining up right. And I'm going to burnish that on. So that worked. It took me I wish I wouldn't have done it that way, but you know, live and learn. So now I can go back and add glue to my pocket to lay it back down. Okay. I need to see it. I can't see. All right. We're getting there. Okay, so now, I don't know if I gave you the measurements to the other ones or not. Yeah, I did 4 by 10. What do I do with my 4 by 10? There it is. All right, so this top flap, no, I did not. I need a miter. This is 5 7/8 by 9 1/2. Now I may have to go back and trim the bottom a little bit if it's hanging over. So I mitered the top. I'm going to turn my book upside down. I'm going to open this. And now I want to glue this to the top. And it looks like I might trim mine just a hair. Yes. Yes, I like it. Okay, so now my book's upside down, but I'm going to glue it to the top. Make sure you don't go over the spine or anything. Okay, I'm going to turn it back around now. I will open it and I will burnish. Okay, we're still good. So now on this page, take your 5 by 8 that we scored and you can center that on the page. Then you do need to put pattern paper on here before you put this flap in the center. And I might narrow mine a little bit. That's a 4 by 10, but I think I want it closer to 3 1/2. I think it looks better. Yep, I like 3 1/2 better. Okay, so let's go ahead and, again, you don't have to miter this one. I'm just going to eyeball it for the center. Go ahead and open it and burnish. Okay, again, you'll put pattern paper on, this, and then you can glue this down. Now if you want, it's going to open a flap. If you want, when you glue it on the paper, you can just glue it on 3 sides, and then you can stick a tag behind it too. So what I'm going to do is finish decorating it. The cover, you can decide how you want your closure to be. If you want no closure, that's fine. You might want to put seam binding underneath the paper so you can tie it closed. You do whatever closure you like, but I'm going to go ahead and finish this now, and I will come back and show you the end result. All right, stay tuned.